The New York Giants won their second game of the season and are now 2-5 at the bottom of the NFC East. New York defeated the now 3-4 Washington Commanders by a score of 14-7. What's going on, everyone? Nick Falato, a Big Blue View here to break down some of the more exotic looks from Wink Martindale's defense. But there were explosive plays on offense as well, and one lone bright spot known as Big Cat's Paw among the dark abyss we refer to as special teams. However, as I already alluded to, this win was defined by the New York Giants defense. If pressure breaks pipes, consider the Washington Commanders a dilapidated shack that succumbed to a defense that only had 5 sacks heading into Week 7. Wink Martindale must have been licking his chops as the Giants dialed up fire zone blitzes, simulated pressures, and overload looks to manipulate Washington's protection. Giants defense got home for 6 sacks, bringing quarterback Sam Howell's sack total to a league-high 40. The Giants defense had its best game. It kept Washington behind the sticks, forced second, third, and long situations, and allowed the magician, known as Wink Martindale, to work his magic against a young, struggling quarterback. Let's go through some of those creative pressure looks and discuss. The Giants blitzed Sam Howell on 58% of his dropbacks, according to ESPN Analytics. And here we're going to see a little bit of a creeper type of pressure, similar to a simulated pressure, only Micah McFadden isn't exactly tipping his hand that he is coming on the blitz. Although if you look at his alignment right now, it's not necessarily natural. Who is he on? It looks like Okereke is on Brian Robinson, but regardless, he is not simulating that pressure and he ends up being a creeper. Right at the snap, he fires and it's a twist. It is a defensive line twist with Micah McFadden. You're going to have Dexter Lawrence going through the inside shoulder of Nick Gates, Micah McFadden looping right around. A'Shawn Robinson, he's going to go wide. This tackle has to pay attention to Kayvon Thibodeau, and the guard is going to step with A'Shawn Robinson, creating a 2-versus-1 on A'Shawn Robinson, just wasting blockers over there until that guard realizes Micah McFadden is going through the A-gap, and he's picked up by Brian Robinson anyways. And what does that create with Brian Robinson out of the picture? To account for Micah McFadden, you have a one-on-one matchup with Jahad Ward, Leonard Williams, and Dexter Lawrence. And just watch how Dexter Lawrence forklifts around Nick Gates. Love Nick Gates. Blocking Dexter Lawrence is a very difficult task. Dexter Lawrence's hands are so quick, he just disallows Nick Gates from gaining any access to his chest, works to the half-man relationship, brings his outside arm, or if you want to say it this way, his boundary side arm underneath the armpit of Nick Gates, and then rises the center of gravity of Nick Gates as Nick Gates just holds Dexter Lawrence and attempts to not allow him to break into the pocket, but he does. And just watch Dexter Lawrence. This guy's 340 pounds, ladies and gentlemen. Watch how low he is, how he fires off the ball, and he's low on contact, lower than Nick Gates. His hips are significantly lower than Nick Gates. He's able to do that. Not a lot of human beings can bend like Dexter Lawrence can. And he's not, obviously, Von Miller out there, but the guy is 340 pounds. And this allows Micah McFadden to just loop right around, take on 2 blockers himself. One-on-one matchups across the board. Dexter Lawrence is going to win that one-on-one matchup, especially with that type of positioning, and he's going to sack Sam Howell. That is the first sack of the game. It was a 5-man pressure. And now we're going to see another 5-man pressure with Xavier McKinney and Micah McFadden coming in. And the defenders to the right side of your screen, they're all going to slant inside with Jahad Ward dropping off into coverage. So you're going to have Jahad Ward being accounted for in the blitz count. You see the tackle and the guard both step in that direction. Then after the play manifests a little bit, you have Rakeem Nunez-Roches being blocked by 3 offensive linemen with one-on-one matchups across the board on the other side. Wasting blockers, trying to get yourself an advantage. Brian Robinson does a good job identifying Xavier McKinney coming up, and Sam Howell also gets rid of the football really quickly, which isn't something he necessarily has a penchant for doing. It's a completed pass, but you can see this again early in the game on one of the first drives of Washington, how the Giants are dialing up some pressure here. They get 4-on-4 to the right side of your screen, 3-on-1 in a 7-man protection with Jahad Ward flowing underneath Terry McLaurin on this fire zone blitz. It is completed. Now we got a 2nd and 4, still in the first quarter. Giants have 6 guys on the line of scrimmage. It's a 5-man protection. Look, if you're Sam Howell and you're Washington, having this quarterback who struggles to process the pressure and holds onto the football and locks onto his first read a little bit too long, having him with a 5-man protection is a very precarious situation to find yourself in. And right now, it's a 5-man protection against 6. Someone's going to be unblocked. And everyone needs to be accounted for, especially with Bobby Okereke in the B gap to the right side of your screen. Micah McFadden in the A gap to the left side of your screen, you can see every gap has somebody in it. So there's going to be a free rusher. And Jihad Ward is that free rusher because the Giants send Bobby Okereke through the B gap. Tackle has to respect him. He has to step down and take him, which is going to allow Jihad Ward to come right in. Bobby Okereke gets his hand on this football and knocks it down. It doesn't allow it to be completed. Sam Howell does a good job finding Hop, but look how much pressure is on Sam Howell as he's going to throw this football because the Giants are just loading up the line of scrimmage. And you can see Micah McFadden doesn't even come on the blitz. Nick Gates is a wasted blocker, but Nick Gates has to respect Micah McFadden. A'Shawn Robinson doesn't even come in the pressure. He even drops off. But the pressure is to the right side of your screen, left side of the offense, where the tackle gets schemed 2 versus 1. This is what Wink Martindale does. He schemes advantageous situations for his defense, creates free rushers. Jihad Ward is a free rusher. And Bobby Okereke ends up being a free rusher as well, gets his hand on the football, forces the incomplete pass. And on the very next play, it's not supposed to say 229 in the bottom left-hand corner. This is the very next play. Giants are only going to send 4, but they're going to run a twist with big Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. And Leonard Williams is going to be barreling right into the face of Sam Howell for a sack. But there's a low-key, very savvy veteran play and an illegal play by Dexter Lawrence here. He's aligned directly over top of the nose. Watch him engage Nick Gates. Sadiq Charles comes over to help Nick Gates, and he probably got a little bit too aggressive in doing so. But Dexter Lawrence, he wants to get planted on this play because he is grabbing a hold of Nick Gates' jersey, and once he gets hit, he grabs a hold of the other guard to his left, pulls them both down to the ground. So now it's just Sadiq Charles who is out of position against Leonard Williams, who loops in unabated, not even touched, frankly, just barely touched, and Dexter Lawrence drags 2 offensive linemen to the deck for this sack. That is a Justin Smith-style defensive hold by Dexter Lawrence. That is a lot of eyes. That is 6 eyes, 3 pairs of eyes on Dexter Lawrence as Lawrence ends up getting blocked by all 3 of them, and no one picks up Leonard Williams for the sack to end the drive for the Washington Commanders. Not even sending blitzes and you're getting home. Just a simple game up front that is not passed off and not blocked well by the Washington Commanders. And now we're going to start to see some of the more exotic pressure packages from Wink Martindale. As you see here, the Giants send Jason Pinnock. The Giants send Bobby Okereke, and they twist Bobby Okereke, number 58, who is to the right of the nose tackle, and Kayvon Thibodeau, the end man on the line of scrimmage, who was not Jason Pinnock, who was somewhat on the line of scrimmage as well. They're going to game. They're going to loop as well. So watch those 2 loop, and it confuses Brian Robinson a little bit because the Commanders are in a 7-man protection. And this is something the Commanders attempted to do. They tried to run 7-man protections, 6-man protections, and it just didn't work because the New York Giants did such a good job disguising their intentions and getting after the Washington quarterback, Sam Howell. And Sam Howell doesn't really even have too much of a chance in situations like this. He hits his back foot and nobody picks up Jason Pinnock. And why did no one pick up Jason Pinnock? Because of the alignment. You have Kayvon Thibodeau, who is wide. You have a 3 technique in Leonard Williams with the nose tackle over the top and Dexter Lawrence, and then another 3 technique in Jihad Ward on the other side with Isaiah Simmons wide. And you're going to send Bobby Okereke. So that's going to be the responsibility since Dexter Lawrence releases to the right and Leonard Williams releases to the left. That's going to occupy the center and the guard. So who is going to pick up Bobby Okereke? That's going to be Antonio Gibson in pass protection. So he comes to take Bobby Okereke, but that's also a ruse. That is also a distraction for Kayvon Thibodeau, who was looping around. So Gibson has to pick up Kayvon Thibodeau. This is really tough. This is a 2 versus 1 on Antonio Gibson. But with Leonard Williams going outside and Kayvon Thibodeau taking about 2.5 steps upfield, that's going to engage the tackle. So in that tackle's mind, he has to block Kayvon Thibodeau, which allows Jason Pinnock to just run right around the outside shoulder of that tackle. The tackle doesn't know that the middle linebacker, Bobby Okereke, is coming on this blitz, nor does he think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to twist around Leonard Williams. So he expects Antonio Gibson to be picking up Jason Pinnock as the extra blitzer, but that doesn't happen either. So this is just a lot of moving parts by the New York Giants to absolutely confuse who has who in protection. And you could see, if you look to your left side of your screen, you have 4 New York Giants jerseys outside of the hash who are intending to pressure and 3 Washington blockers. If you look to the right of your screen, you have 4 blockers and 2 New York Giant jerseys. And that's because of the pre-snap alignment. That's because Bobby Okereke is to the right of Dexter Lawrence, and Isaiah Simmons looks like he's coming on the blitz. You had Deonte Banks also acting kind of like he could be coming on this blitz. So you get Nick Gates, who has to account for Dexter Lawrence at the nose to open to his left side, creating that 3 versus 2 advantage New York Giants, where only 2 of the players kind of end up getting blocked up, and Sam Howell ends up on the ground. It's a very good pressure from Wink Martindale. Now we're going to have a 3rd and 10 towards the end of the second quarter. Last year, we talked a lot about how Wink Martindale loved to attack the B gap, and he did that by aggressively sending his ends wide to force the offensive tackle to cut off that angle and open himself up to a B gap that is going to become wide open for a subsequent blitz. And this is something that the Giants did a lot last season. You could see you have the nose, you have the 3 technique. The nose is Dexter Lawrence, the 3 technique is Leonard Williams. What do both Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams do? They slant aggressively to their left. So what would that ideally do? That would occupy the guard to step down. But the guard doesn't do that. The guard flashes his eyes. He knows Wink Martindale is doing something crazy to Jason Pinnock, who is running into the B gap. But Leonard Williams engages Nick Gates. He engages Nick Gates, gets Nick Gates to open up with him, and that allows Jihad Ward to loop around from the opposite side on this game right into the A gap unblocked. So not only was there one distraction in Leonard Williams slanting to open up the B gap that was picked up by Washington with Jason Pinnock coming in, but there's a second one in Jihad Ward looping from the opposite side. And Leonard Williams, this is deliberate. He engages Nick Gates. Nick Gates doesn't engage him. He runs directly at Nick Gates. He wants to block Nick Gates to get Nick Gates to open up to allow Jihad Ward to go into that A gap just like this. And then Dexter Lawrence, of all people, ends up cleaning this sack up, who's originally the nose tackle. And watch just how athletic this is from Dexter Lawrence to work to the outside part of the tackle. And as Sam Howell gets flushed out of the pocket because of Jihad Ward and all the pressure coming from that side, Dexter Lawrence cleans this up to get a sack. That is just an elite play from a 340-pounder. And you can see how this protection does not know where the pressure is coming from. This is when your defense is dialing up the pressure. You have Kayvon going wide. You have Isaiah Simmons dropping off into coverage. The tight end tries to help the tackle as he steps down. Jihad Ward loops around. No one even accounts for him. By the time Sam Howell hits his back foot, he has 97 and 55 running directly at him. He tries to evade, and that's just going to be a losing proposition. And also credit to Kayvon Thibodeau, who wins around the edge against his tackle. The protection picked up Jason Pinnock, but there were other hazards that they had to account for, and they failed to. So a big sack with a sexy Dexy dance. And now we're going to have another sack at the end of the first half. This is what I'm going to call Green Dog 58. Green Dog Blitz is when a linebacker or a safety or anybody who has coverage responsibility on a eligible receiver who stays in for protection, when that player ends up blitzing and ends up coming on the blitz because he recognizes and realizes that his responsibility is in protection. That's exactly what happens here. You can see Antonio Gibson. He's going to take Isaiah Simmons. Watch Bobby Okereke. Okay, is he staying? He's staying? Okay, and now I can go in and help him clean up this sack. If you look at the pressure, you have a twist from Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. You have Dexter Lawrence who's just going to go through the A gap. Leonard Williams is going to loop around, but the guard on the backside ends up picking that up well. The tackle washes Jihad Ward into the guard. Kayvon Thibodeau wins around the edge again. And then Dexter Lawrence, just through sheer will and insane hand usage, judos Nick Gates' double punch, gets to the rip move once again, which he always does, and then presents the small of his back to Nick Gates. Like, this is a ridiculous move because, again, look how low Dexter Lawrence is and watch how efficient his hands are. He's just quickly shed, present the back. Where is Nick Gates going to attach himself to when you just reduce the surface area of your chest in this manner and turn your back to the blocker, and then you still have the ability and the strength to bend? Like, watch that bend by Dexter Lawrence. This is a 340-pounder. That is insane bend and body control from someone of that size to clean up this sack. Bobby Okereke ends up coming in on that Green Dog 58, and the Giants get home for yet another sack. And then we're going to see this last sack is in the third quarter, so you had halftime adjustments. Let's watch Bobby Okereke again. Beginning of the third quarter, he is on Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson obviously goes into protection. Bobby Okereke, that's his responsibility. He recognizes exactly what's happening, and he does not stop this time. He runs right into the pocket, and Sam Howell runs right into the arms of a bunch of New York Giants. Giants are in a tight front. All 3 interior defensive linemen are inside of the tackles, as you can see with the nose tackle Dexter Lawrence over Nick Gates. Both of the edge rushers are wide. That is Isaiah Simmons and Kayvon Thibodeau. This is a 2nd and 9 situation. You're going to see Isaiah Simmons, number 19, out there. 2nd and 6+ situation. It's going to allow Wink Martindale to get really creative with what he wants to do with his pressure up front. And on this play, Jihad Ward, Leonard Williams, and Dexter Lawrence are all just going to run straight and try to penetrate their respective gaps. And they're going to force all 4 of these blockers that you see on your screen. They're going to force all 4 of them to tighten up. And when they do that, that allows Bobby Okereke to read Brian Robinson. And now Bobby Okereke can discern if Brian Robinson is a threat as a receiver. Brian Robinson looks like he is going to help his tight end out. Again, another 7-man protection. He's going to help his tight end out with Isaiah Simmons. Bobby Okereke says, check that. I'm going to run right at Sam Howell. He gets into the pocket. No one blocks him, runs right into Sam Howell. And then Sam Howell runs right into Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau and a bunch of New York Giants. So this is just the New York Giants recognizing the tendencies of what Washington was doing all game and then adjusting off of that. Veteran play from the linebacker Bobby Okereke, who's really coming along as a New York Giant. And I was just very excited to see the Giants get pressure and get 6 sacks when they only had 5 on the season. It was against Commanders, not exactly the best team in protecting their quarterback, but this is a start. And if the Giants defense can just force offenses into 2nd and long and 3rd and long situations, hopefully we'll see more plays like this. And those were just some of the ways the New York Giants were able to generate pressure against this Washington Commanders offense. Dexter Lawrence had no sacks coming into this game, got 2, was an absolute menace for Nick Gates and the interior part, and frankly the tackles as well, of the offensive line for the Washington Commanders. Love seeing the New York Giants get after it. And if you like this video, please subscribe, comment, like, do whatever you can to help. It can go a long way with the algorithm. We would absolutely appreciate that. And also, if you love the New York Giants, head on over to bigblueview.com. Check out all of our written content extensively covering this New York Giants football team. Thank you, everyone. I'm Nick Falato, signing off for Big Blue View. Take care.